When Maya Chen steals evidence that could destroy a criminal empire, she never expects to collide with Marcus Kane, a dangerous man with his own deadly agenda. What starts as a desperate alliance in an abandoned warehouse becomes a heart-pounding race against time, betrayal, and bullets. Two broken souls. One impossible mission. Zero room for error. Asterisk, welcome back, dear friends and story lovers. Tonight, we bring you a tale where love is tested, secrets come to light, and fate takes an unexpected turn. Every moment will pull you in deeper, and every choice could change everything. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And if this story touches your heart, like, subscribe, share it with someone who believes in true love, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter. Asterisk, the warehouse smelled of rust and desperation. Maya Chen pressed her back against the cold concrete wall, listening to footsteps echo through the empty corridors. Her breath came in sharp bursts, each exhale visible in the December air that seeped through broken windows. 3 months of running had led to this moment, this building, this dead end. She clutched the flash drive in her jacket pocket. Such a small thing to destroy so many lives. The footsteps stopped. Maya held her breath. I know you're here. The voice carried authority and exhaustion in equal measure. Not the voice of her pursuers. Someone else entirely. Maya peered around the corner. The man stood silhouetted in the doorway, broad shoulders filling the frame. His expensive suit looked out of place in the abandoned building, but the gun in his hand belonged. Turn around slowly, she called out, her own weapon steady, despite the tremor in her voice. He complied, hands visible, but still gripping his. Pistol, dark hair, sharp jawline, eyes that held too much knowledge. She'd seen those eyes before in newspapers, on wanted posters that had nothing to do with her own problems. Marcus Kane, she breathed. His mouth quirked upward, but the smile held no warmth. Reputation precedes me. And you're the ghost who's been bleeding Volkov's accounts dry. Maya's finger tightened on the trigger. You're working for them? Was he corrected? Past tense being the operative word. Outside, car engines roared to life. Spiked. They'd found her. Marcus stepped closer, his weapon never wavering. We have about 30 seconds before this place becomes a kill box. You can trust me or die here. Your choice. The warehouse doors exploded inward. Maya made her decision and dove toward the man who might be her salvation or her executioner. The safe house reeked of stale cigarettes and broken dreams. Maya sat on the edge of a threadbare couch, watching Marcus pace across the cracked linoleum floor. His suit jacket hung over a chair, revealing the network of scars that mapped his forearms like a violent constellation. Volkov's been tracking you for 3 months, he said without looking at her. Bank transfers, facial recognition, even your old college roommate's phone records. You're good at disappearing, but not good enough. Maya's jaw tightened. And you're helping me because Dmitri Volkov killed my sister. The words fell between them like broken glass. Marcus stopped pacing, his hands clenched into fists. The raw pain in his voice was unmistakable, the kind that lived in your bones and never left. Alina was a prosecutor. She thought she could bring him down through legal channels. His laugh was bitter as poison. They made it look like suicide. Threw her from her apartment balcony. Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. She'd spent months gathering evidence of Volkov's money laundering operation, thinking she was striking at a faceless criminal empire. She hadn't considered the personal cost. The flash drive, she said quietly. It's not just about the money, is it? Marcus finally looked at her, and she saw her own hunger for vengeance reflected in his eyes. It contains transaction records linking Volkov to 14 murders, including Elena's. The space between them crackled with shared purpose and something deeper, something dangerous. Maya stood, closing the distance until she could smell his cologne mixed with gunpowder. If we do this, she whispered, we can't go back. Either of us. His hand found her face, thumb tracing the scar along her cheek. She'd never told anyone how she'd gotten it. The intimate gesture should have terrified her, but instead, she leaned into his touch. I've been dead for 2 years, Marcus murmured. Maybe it's time to start living. Their lips met in a kiss, that tasted like desperation and gasoline. Maya's phone buzzed against her hip, shattering the moment. The message made her blood freeze. "They have your mother," she read aloud. "Pier 47. 1 hour. Come alone." Pier 47. Stretched into the black water like a concrete finger pointing toward hell. Maya crouched behind a shipping container, watching the scene unfold through the scope of her rifle. Her mother sat tied to a chair near the edge of the pier, gray hair wild in the harbor wind. Dmitri Volkov stood beside her, his pale hands folded behind his back like a patient undertaker. "You came," Maya whispered into her earpiece. "You not to," Marcus replied from his position on the adjacent pier. "This is suicide. It's my mother. It's a trap." Maya adjusted her grip on the rifle. She had a clear shot at Volkov, but 3 of his men flanked her mother. One twitch of her finger, and they'd execute the only family she had left. "There has to be another way," she said. Marcus's voice crackled through static. "Give me the flash drive." Something in his tone made her stomach drop. "What? To drive, Maya? This ends if you give it to me." We agreed. "We take him down together." Plans change. Maya's hands went numb. Through her scope, she watched a 4th figure emerge from the shadows near her mother. Marcus Kane stepped into the pier's harsh floodlights, his hands raised in surrender. "Hello, Dmitri," his voice carried across the water. "I have what you want." Volkov smiled, the expression predatory and satisfied. "Marcus, my prodigal son, returns." Maya's world tilted sideways. She watched in horror as Marcus pulled out a familiar flash drive, the one she'd risked everything to steal. He tossed it at Volkov's feet. "The transaction records," Marcus called out. "All of them, just like we agreed." "Excellent." And the girl
Marcus
gestured toward the shipping containers where Maya lay hidden. 3rd row behind the blue container. She's armed, but alone. The betrayal hit her like a physical blow. Everything between them had been a lie. The kiss, the shared pain, the promise of justice for his dead sister. All of it orchestrated to get her here, to get the drive. Shh. Maya's mother looked up suddenly, her eyes finding the exact spot where Maya was hidden. Even from a distance, Maya could read her lips. "Run." Volkov raised his hand, and his men lifted their weapons toward the shipping containers. Maya had seconds to move before the pier became her grave. As she rolled behind cover, automatic gunfire erupted around her. But through the chaos, she heard something that made her heart stop. Marcus screaming her name in what sounded like genuine terror. Maya pressed herself against the cold metal of the shipping container as bullets tore through the air above her head. Her earpiece had gone silent, filled only with the static of broken connections and shattered trust. Volkov's men were closing in, their flashlight beams cutting through the maze of containers like searchlights hunting prey. But her mother was still out there, still tied to that chair on the pier's edge. A new sound cut through the gunfire. Marcus's voice, raw with desperation. "The drive is a fake," he shouted across the water. "Maya has the real one." Maya's breath caught. Through a gap between containers, she saw Marcus on his knees beside Volkov, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. The Russian held a gun to his temple. "You think I'm stupid?" Volkov snarled. "That I wouldn't verify the contents?" "Check it again," Marcus gasped. "She switched them. It's what she does. She's a ghost." Maya's mind raced. The drive in her pocket was the original, the only copy of evidence that could bring down Volkov's entire network. Marcus knew that, which meant he was buying her time, even as it cost him his life. She understood now. The betrayal was theater, performed for Volkov's benefit. Marcus had never truly turned on her. He'd walked into this knowing it was suicide. "Your sister," she whispered, though he couldn't hear her. "You're doing this for Alina?" Volkov's attention shifted toward the containers. "Find her," he barked at his men. Mired this place apart. Maya made her choice. She couldn't save them both, but she could save one. Breaking cover, she sprinted toward the pier. Not toward her mother, but toward the water's edge, where Volkov held Marcus hostage. Rifle barked twice, dropping 2 of his men before they could react. Let him go, she called out, stepping into the light with her weapon trained on Volkov. The Russian smiled. The prodigal daughter appears. Give me the real drive. First you let them both walk away. You're hardly in a position to negotiate. Maya's finger tightened on the trigger. I'm the only one who knows where Elena Kane really hid her backup evidence. Kill me, and you'll never find it. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Volkov's eyes. Maya pressed her advantage. She didn't just gather evidence about your money laundering. She had photos, recordings, witness testimonies, everything needed to connect you to those 14 murders. Maya's voice dropped to a whisper, including video of you throwing her from that balcony. Volkov's hand trembled slightly against Marcus's head. That's impossible. We destroyed everything. Lena was smarter than you gave her credit for. She knew she was walking into a trap that night. The question is, do you want to spend the rest of your life wondering what evidence might surface? Behind Volkov, Maya's mother was working at her bonds. The older woman's hands were small but skilled. A lifetime of knitting had given her clever fingers. The drive, Volkov demanded. Now, Maya reached into her pocket, but instead of the flash drive, she pulled out a grenade with the pin already removed. Her father had taught her to always have a backup plan. Tell me something, Dmitri, she said calmly. Can you swim? The explosion sent shock waves across the harbor, turning the pier into a constellation of fire and debris. Maya surfaced in the icy water, her lungs burning as she gasped for air. Around her, burning pieces of wood and concrete hissed as they hit the waves. She'd had 4 seconds after releasing the grenade. 4 seconds to grab Marcus and dive over the pier's edge, praying the water would shield them from the blast. Seconds to bet everything on a desperate gamble. Marcus, she called out, treading water in the harbor's black depths. A hand grabbed her shoulder. He emerged beside her, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead, but very much alive. They floated together in the aftermath, watching flames dance on the water's surface. Your mother, Marcus gasped. Maya's heart clenched. She turned toward what remained of the pier and saw a small boat cutting through the smoke. Her mother sat at the helm, having somehow freed herself and commandeered Volkov's escape vessel. I taught her to sail when I was 12, Maya said, relief flooding her voice. She always was the practical one in our family. They swam toward the boat in silence, each stroke carrying them away from the fire and toward something that might be redemption. When they finally hauled themselves aboard, Maya's mother wrapped them both in emergency blankets without asking questions. The drive, Marcus said quietly as they headed toward shore. Maya pulled it from her waterproof pocket, the small device that had cost so many lives. Elena's backup files are on here too. I found them in your apartment while you were at the warehouse. His eyes widened. You searched my place? Never trust anyone completely. She managed a weak smile. Besides, I needed to know if you were really Volkov's man or just playing the part. And your sister's photos were hidden in your bathroom mirror, the ones of you and her as children. Volkov's men would have destroyed those if they'd searched properly. Maya touched his face gently. You kept her memory alive even while working for her killer. Marcus leaned into her touch. 2 years undercover. I was starting to forget who I used to be. I know the feeling. They held each other as the city lights grew larger, 2 broken people who'd found something worth saving in the wreckage of their lives. The flash drive would go to the FBI in the morning, along with their testimony. Volkov's empire would crumble, and justice would finally find its way to Elena Kane. But tonight, in the space between revenge and redemption, they had each other. What happens now? Marcus asked. Maya looked out at the harbor, where the fire was finally dying down. In the distance, she could hear sirens approaching. Soon there would be questions, trials, witness protection programs, chance to build something new from the ashes of who they used to be. Now we learn how to live with the light on, she said. As their boat cut through the dark water toward shore, Maya realized that some endings were actually beginnings in disguise. The ghosts they'd been running from would always be with them, but maybe that was okay. Maybe learning to carry the weight was what made you human again. Behind them, the last flames flickered and died, leaving only stars reflected in the black water. The end.